Neeraj, great to have you on the show. Thanks very much for taking out the time. How are you looking at the market positioning right now? What kind of range could you define for the markets in lieu of what may come by on the political front with a slew of elections lined up and the market still awaiting the Karnataka verdict?
Yeah, good morning. I think it was all building up, the kind of macros we had, rupee weakening, crude going up, yields rising. So it was all building up and we were all waiting for the election results and markets were holding on till yesterday. Once the results, initial results have come, markets, there were expectations that the market will correct because, broader market was anyways correcting for the last, I think almost a week now. There's some large cap, some large cap names which were supporting the market or keeping the market on elevated levels. So I think we've seen that selling which was due happening now, but I don't think this will be deep correction. I think this will again be a correction where one should look at opportunities on dips. So one should not be in a hurry and see how things pan on the macro front. And of course, what happens in Karnataka finally will also matter a bit, but I don't think it will matter too much now. The first thing which has come is that the BJP has come out with a strong performance there. So that is some sort of a positive that you can take from the elections. And who makes the governments now will not have too much of a bearing on the market because I think that news more or less would have already played into the market. So it may have a one-day impact or a few hours impact when the news comes finally, positive or negative. And otherwise, I think macros will be more important. And on this correction, one should be looking at opportunities.
Right. Neeraj, morning. So where is it that you identify those opportunity spots where you feel that the market has corrected enough, but the growth story still looks intact and thereby, valuations now look attractive after the recent fall?
See, I would say that a lot of these infrastructure related spaces like even capital goods or even pure infrastructure plays or related ancillary plays related to capital good infrastructure and even things like steel for that matter, these are all corrected. Even steel stocks corrected a lot since the last peak we saw in the end of January. So they also corrected a lot from the peak. So I think that is one space. Plus, there will be one space which no one really wants to touch because all the negative news around are the corporate banks, whether it's banks like ICICI, private banks like ICICI Bank or PSU banks like State Bank or Indian Bank. I think they're also, whatever results are already out of that, maybe Indian Bank was one which results are out. We know what is the pain and we know this is the peak pain that they would have seen and incrementally things will only improve for them. So I think one should look at opportunities in some of the corporate banks also, even after the kind of result they've come. I think according to my understanding, because the 12th February circular, they had to take that hit and most of it has already been taken, or more than 90% of it has already been taken. So they can be incrementally less provisioning required as far as those banks are concerned. And there would be, even in the auto ancillary sector, I think that is also one can look at opportunities there because there'll be one segment of autos like Aisha which is still 10% above the last, when the market at the last high. So, but there will be other stocks which have corrected a lot, like even Maruti is corrected almost 9% from those levels. So you can even see opportunities there. And I think even mid-cap IT continues to be positive. The results were very encouraging and that is one space where those companies have performed very well in the last couple of quarters. So I think they can also continue performing from these levels.
Okay. Would you say that PSU banks are a complete avoid, or given the way PNB has fallen today, they could still be a contrarian opportunity or dare be contrarian in an otherwise beleaguered sector?
I think there is a contrarian opportunity there, but one needs to be stock specific. One needs to analyze PSU banks specifically and take a call. Like I mentioned, Indian Bank, which according to me, like they took a approximately 4,000 crores of provisioning, which incrementally they'll need only 2,000 crores. So they will, that 2,000 crores one time which initially they took will not be there going ahead. So you have to analyze the bank separately. So there'll be among the PSU banks, you have to pick two or three better performers and stick to them. Like out of the results which are already out, Indian Bank and Canara Bank would be the one where I think one can take a contrarian call and invest for a medium to long term.
Okay, so then where would you find that opportunity? Would it largely be with SBI and Bank of Baroda, or perhaps you're extending it out to some of the other relatively stronger banks, Canara Bank perhaps?
Yeah, like I mentioned, Canara Bank and Indian Bank, among the results which are already out, I think these two, according to my understanding, stand out. They've taken the hit and incrementally things will only be better from what they are right now. So they look better from these levels. So these two are the ones which already results are declared, would be the ones where one can take a contrarian buy. And other banks like even State Bank, so I think I'll wait for the results to come out and then take a call on those banks. But State Bank will definitely be also in that list, but I'll still prefer to wait for the results.
How is it that you're approaching the consumption space, Neeraj? Because, while there is no denying that growth clearly is there, be it in Asian Paints or be it, the Daburs, HULs, or for that matter, Britannias of the world. But the concern again boils down to valuations. So maybe right now is not the right time to add more to the portfolio. But then again, growth only seems to be favoring them. And the debate in your head is whether or not you would pay that extra buck because that's what quality demands.
Yeah, and that's what has been happening with the stock for the last couple of years. I would say that we've been looking at growth coming, but growth is not actually coming. So but growth comes only in consumption space. So that is where people have been chasing, and they've been becoming expensive and expensive. But I think how much would you pay for a growth also? For something like Asian Paints or HUL, you're already paying such a high premium, and we are giving them 30, 35, 40 times multiple going ahead. So that I think is too much money to pay. And from these levels, I think I would rather see these stock consolidating. I don't think they'll correct because still there'll be portfolios will be chasing these stocks, and they'll still give them the premium. But at these levels, the valuation doesn't, looking at the valuation, I don't see too much of an upside in the medium term, short to medium term in these stocks.
Okay, then give us your sense, how would you look at some of the expensive names in autos and in the consumption story? Would you advocate booking profits there, and if so, where would you direct that money to? Where is it that you're finding value in the market?
See, in the auto space also, you see stocks like Eicher Motor, which also has been getting that premium valuation. And there'll be stocks like Maruti, which was, but then Maruti is corrected also. So there'll be stocks like Maruti, or there'll be stocks which are into commercial vehicle space like Ashok Leyland, where I feel that the stocks have corrected almost 10% from the peak that they saw end of January, February. And I think these are the kind of stock where I would look at opportunities to increase my position as far as autos are concerned. And auto ancillary also, there'll be companies which are more exposed to commercial vehicle space. So that'll be one segment where I'm positive on.
Okay, Neeraj, great speaking with you, and thanks much for joining in with some individual stock ideas as well. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you.